The Trump administration is reportedly considering hedge fund veteran Kyle Bass for a significant position within either the Treasury or Defense Department. This speculation has gained traction from various credible sources including Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance, indicating that Bass is being evaluated seriously for these high-level roles. His reputation as a China hawk and his expertise in finance make him a noteworthy candidate in the current geopolitical landscape. Background on Kyle Bass. Kyle Bass is a prominent figure in the finance world, known for his successful predictions regarding economic downturns, particularly his foresight during the 2008 financial crisis. He is the founder of Heyman Capital Management and has built a reputation for his ability to analyze complex market dynamics. In addition to his financial acumen, Bass has been an outspoken critic of China, particularly regarding its economic policies and practices. His extensive experience in global markets and his strategic insights render him a potentially valuable asset in either Treasury or defense roles where economic and national security considerations are paramount. Potential impact of Bass's appointment. Should Bass be appointed to a prominent position, his strong anti-China stance could significantly influence U.S. policy towards China. His perspective aligns closely with the current administration's focus on countering China's growing global influence, especially in trade and national security realms. Bass has consistently advocated for a tougher U.S. stance on China, arguing that the country's economic practices pose a threat not only to American businesses but also to national security. His views could lead to more aggressive policies aimed at curbing China's expansion and influence, which has been a central theme in U.S. policy discussions in recent years. Common themes in coverage. Various media outlets have reported on Bass's potential candidacy, highlighting his qualifications and the implications of his possible appointment. Bloomberg's coverage provides an in-depth analysis of Bass's past financial strategies and how they might inform his approach in government. The report emphasizes his analytical skills and understanding of economic trends, which could be beneficial for developing effective policies. Conversely, Yahoo Finance focuses more on the broader implications of Bass's potential role, particularly concerning U.S. China relations. The outlet discusses how his appointment might signal a shift in U.S. policy, particularly in terms of economic sanctions and trade negotiations with China. Investing.com, on the other hand, emphasizes the security implications of Bass's candidacy, noting how his hardline views could shape national defense policy and strategies. Timeline of events. As of January 2025, discussions around Bass's candidacy are still in the early stages, with no official announcements made regarding his appointment. This consideration appears to be part of a broader trend within the Trump administration to appoint individuals with strong backgrounds in finance and a hardline approach to China. The ongoing evaluation of Bass underscores the administration's intent to bolster its economic and defense strategies in response to China's rise. Conclusion. The potential appointment of Kyle Bass to a role within the Trump administration highlights the administration's focus on adopting a robust stance against China. His background as a hedge fund manager and his reputation as a China hawk position him as a significant candidate for either the Treasury or Defense Department. If appointed, Bass's approach could lead to substantial changes in U.S. economic and national security policies, particularly in how the U.S. engages with China on various fronts. As discussions continue, the implications of his potential role remain a topic of significant interest and analysis within the political and financial spheres. The potential appointment of Kyle Bass to a high-level position within the Trump administration, particularly in the Treasury or Defense Department, raises several counterintuitive points worth considering. 1. Hedge fund background versus government role. Traditionally, hedge fund managers like Bass operate in a profit-driven environment where decisions are made based on market data and financial return. Transitioning from such a role to a government position, especially in Treasury or Defense, may seem counterintuitive as the motivations and objectives differ significantly. Government roles often require balancing national interests with ethical considerations and public welfare. something that might conflict with a hedge fund manager's profit-centric mindset. 2. Anti-China sentiment. While the administration's hardline stance on China aligns with Base's views, the idea that a hedge fund manager, typically focused on maximizing returns, would prioritize national security and geopolitical strategies over financial considerations is paradoxical. Historically, financial markets thrive on stability, and aggressive policies against a major trading partner like China could lead to market volatility, which is contrary to the interests of a hedge fund. 3. Financial acumen and wariness of politics. Base's financial expertise is seen as an asset for navigating economic policy. However, the intersection of finance and defense can be fraught with complexities. The counterintuitive aspect here is that financial knowledge does not necessarily translate into effective policymaking in government, particularly in fields like defense, where strategic, long-term planning and ethical considerations play critical roles. 4. Potential for increased tensions with China. If Base were to be appointed, the expectation would be for a more aggressive U.S. posture toward China. This could be seen as counterintuitive, given that increased tensions might lead to economic repercussions that could harm American businesses and consumers. The idea of a financial expert advocating for policies that might destabilize the economic relationship with a pivotal partner could challenge conventional wisdom about the role of finance and diplomacy. 5. Influence of ideology over experience. The assumption that Base's strong ideological stance against China would be beneficial in a government role overlooks the complexities of international relations, where experience and diplomatic nuance often yield better outcomes than rigid ideological positions. This presents a counterintuitive scenario where a lack of diplomatic experience might be overlooked in favor of a hardline ideology. Challenging traditional views of what constitutes effective governance. 6. Public perception and market reaction. Base's appointment could provoke a substantial public and market reaction. While many in the administration may view his appointment favorably, especially among hardliners, the broader market sentiment might be wary of instability. This divergence between the administration's potential enthusiasm and the market's apprehension highlights a counterintuitive disconnect between political objectives and economic realities. 7. The role of financial markets in national security. The notion that a hedge fund manager can effectively contribute to national security strategies might seem counterintuitive, because financial markets often react negatively to uncertainty and aggressive geopolitical maneuvers. The expectation that Base can leverage his financial expertise to enhance national security contradicts the reality that such expertise may not adequately address the nuanced and multifaceted nature of defense policy. In conclusion, while the consideration of Kyle Base for a significant role within the Trump administration aligns with certain strategic objectives, it simultaneously raises several counterintuitive questions about the applicability of his financial background to government service, the implications of his anti-China stance on broader economic relations, and the potential disconnect between political ideology and effective governance in complex international contexts. The consideration of Kyle Base for a key role in the Trump administration, particularly within the Treasury or Defense Department, is significant for several reasons that may not be immediately apparent to the general public. 1. Kyle Base's investment philosophy and track record. While many may acknowledge Base's status as a hedge fund veteran and a notable figure in finance, the nuances of his investment philosophy often go overlooked. Base is known for his contrarian investment strategies, particularly his successful prediction of the 2008 financial crisis. He famously shorted subprime mortgages, making a substantial profit. This track record not only showcases his acumen in identifying systemic risks but also highlights his capacity for strategic thinking under pressure. Significance. Should Base be appointed, his investment background could lead to economic policies that prioritize risk management and financial stability. His insights could inform Treasury strategies that address potential economic crises, especially in a global landscape increasingly affected by geopolitical tensions. 2. Base's stance on China. Base's reputation as a China hawk is well known, but the implications of his views extend beyond mere rhetoric. He has often criticized China's economic practices, including intellectual property theft and currency manipulation. This perspective aligns with a broader trend of increasing skepticism towards China, which has been growing among U.S. policymakers. Significance: if Base were to take a role in the Treasury or defense, his policies could pivot the U.S. towards a more aggressive posture regarding trade and national security with China. This could lead to enhanced tariffs, sanctions, or even military strategies aimed at countering China's influence in Asia and beyond. The ramifications of such policies could reshape global trade patterns and affect international relations for years to come. 3. The broader context of appointments. The potential appointment of figures like Base reflects a broader theme within the Trump administration of selecting individuals with backgrounds in finance and a hardline approach to international relations. This trend may signify a shift towards a more interventionist economic policy, especially in dealings with nations perceived as adversaries. Significance: the implications of this trend are profound. It suggests a potential recalibration of U.S. foreign policy that prioritizes economic leverage over diplomatic engagement. For investors and businesses, this could mean a more volatile market environment, especially if tensions with China escalate. Understanding this context helps to grasp the strategic motivations behind such appointments. 4. Impact on U.S. China relations. While many reports highlight the potential for Base's appointment to aggravate U.S. China relations, they often fail to delve into the long-term consequences of such an escalation. Increased hostilities could lead to economic decoupling, affecting supply chains and trade agreements that currently benefit both nations. Significance: the long-term economic impact of a more adversarial U.S. China relationship could be profound, affecting global markets, trade policies, and even the technology sector. Companies that rely on Chinese manufacturing or markets might face significant disruptions. Moreover, this could lead to a new Cold War dynamic, reshaping alliances and economic partnerships around the world. 5. Implications for defense spending and policy. Given Base's potential role in the Defense Department, his views on national security and defense spending are critical yet often underappreciated aspects of his candidacy. His anti-China stance could lead to increased military spending and a re-evaluation of U.S. defense strategies in the Asia-Pacific region. Significance: a shift in defense policy towards a more aggressive posture could have significant implications for U.S. military strategy. This could entail increased military presence in Asia, technology investments in defense capabilities, and possibly even new alliances. Such changes would not only affect military budgets but also influence diplomatic relations with other nations in the region. 6. The influence of hedge fund managers in politics. The broader trend of hedge fund managers entering political roles is an important theme that is often overlooked. Base's potential appointment could be seen as part of a growing trend where financial elites influence government policy, raising questions about the implications for democratic governance and accountability. Significance: the increasing influence of hedge fund managers in politics could lead to policies that favor capital markets and financial interests over the needs of the general populace. This shift could exacerbate income inequality and lead to a governance model that prioritizes the interests of the wealthy, thereby impacting social and economic equity. 7. Public perception and media coverage. While major news outlets are covering Base's potential appointment, the nuances of public perception regarding hedge fund managers and their roles in government are less frequently discussed. The public may have mixed feelings about appointing individuals from finance to key government positions, particularly given the 2008 financial crisis's lasting impact. Significance: understanding public sentiment is crucial for any administration's political strategy. If Base is perceived negatively due to his background, it could affect the administration's popularity and lead to increased scrutiny of its policies. Moreover, the public's wariness could impact the administration's ability to implement its agenda, especially regarding economic reforms. Conclusion: The potential consideration of Kyle Bass for a significant role in the Trump administration is layered with implications that go beyond the immediate context of U.S. China relations. His background, investment philosophy, and the broader trends in political appointments reflect a complex interplay between finance, national security, and economic policy. Recognizing these dimensions is essential for understanding the potential trajectory of U.S. policy and its global repercussions. 1. Kyle Bass's background and expertise. Kyle Bass is a prominent hedge fund manager known for his successful predictions regarding financial crises and his critical stance on China's economic policies. His extensive experience in finance and insight into global market dynamics position him as a potentially influential figure in shaping U.S. economic policies, particularly at the Treasury or Defense Department. This background is crucial for understanding why he is being considered for a high-level government role, as his financial acumen could impact economic strategies and responses to international challenges. 2. Potential shift in U.S.-China relations. Bass's known anti-China stance suggests that his appointment could lead to a significant shift in U.S. policies towards China. If he were to assume a role in the administration, we could expect a more aggressive posture concerning trade, national security, and diplomatic relations with China. This point is vital for analyzing how his presence could reshape U.S.-China dynamics and what that means for global economic stability and security. 3. Consensus among sources. The discussions around Bass's candidacy reveal a consensus among various media outlets regarding his qualifications and the potential implications of his appointment. Outlets like Bloomberg focus on his financial strategies, while Yahoo Finance emphasizes the broader implications for U.S.-China relations. And Investing.com highlights national security concerns. This diversity in coverage underscores the multifaceted impact Bass could have in government, suggesting that his role might transcend traditional economic duties to include significant geopolitical responsibilities. For broader trends in the Trump administration, the consideration of Kyle Bass is indicative of a broader trend within the Trump administration, which appears to favor candidates with strong financial backgrounds and hardline positions on China. This trend reflects the administration's strategic priorities, aiming to confront China's growing influence while leveraging financial expertise to navigate complex economic challenges. Understanding this trend is essential for analyzing the potential future direction of U.S. policy and governance under the Trump administration. 1. Henry Kissinger and the Nixon administration. Henry Kissinger, initially a Harvard professor and a prominent figure in international relations, was appointed as the National Security Advisor and later as Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon. His strong stance against the Soviet Union and his role in opening diplomatic relations with China in the early 1970s showcased a pivotal shift in U.S. foreign policy. Kissinger's background in academia and his strategic thinking enabled him to influence U.S. foreign policy significantly, much like Kyle Bass's potential impact on U.S. economic and defense strategies regarding China. 2. Paul Volcker and the Carter administration. Paul Volcker, known for his role as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, was appointed by President Jimmy Carter to tackle the rampant inflation of the late 1970s and early 1980s. His aggressive monetary policies, which included raising interest rates significantly, were controversial but ultimately successful in stabilizing the U.S. economy. Volcker's strong financial acumen and willingness to take bold actions in economic policy could be seen as a parallel to the financial expertise that Kyle Bass may bring to the Treasury or Defense Department. 3. Robert Gates and the Bush and Obama administrations. Robert Gates served as Secretary of Defense under both President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama. His tenure was marked by significant military decisions, including the surge in Iraq and the drawdown in Afghanistan. Gates was known for his pragmatic approach to defense policy and had a keen understanding of both military and economic issues. His experience in navigating complex international relations and security matters draws a similarity to the potential role that Kyle Bass could play, especially in the context of U.S.-China relations and national security concerns. The consideration of Kyle Bass for a key position in the Trump administration, particularly in the Treasury or Defense Department, marks a significant moment in U.S. economic and foreign policy. Given Bass's background as a hedge fund veteran and his outspoken criticisms of China, the implications of his potential appointment could resonate across various sectors and influence future U.S. China relations. Future outlook and predictions. 1. Shift in U.S. China relations. If appointed, Bass may catalyze a more aggressive stance against China, likely leading to increased trade barriers and tougher regulations on Chinese investments. This could exacerbate existing tensions, prompting retaliatory measures from China which could destabilize global markets and supply chains. 2. Economic policy changes. With Bass's financial expertise, we may witness a realignment of U.S. economic policies to prioritize national security over free trade. This could involve a push for economic decoupling from China, affecting industries reliant on Chinese manufacturing and technology. Such a shift could lead to increased costs for American consumers and businesses that depend on Chinese goods. 3. Defense strategy reevaluation. Bass's role in the Defense Department could provoke a reevaluation of U.S. military strategies in the Asia-Pacific region. Expect a potential increase in military spending and a more pronounced military presence in areas contested by China like the South China Sea. This could lead to heightened military tensions and a potential arms race in the region. 4. Impact on financial markets. Markets may react negatively to Bass's appointment due to fears of escalating U.S.-China tensions. Investors often favor stability, therefore. Any indication of increased conflict or trade wars could lead to volatility in stock markets. Conversely, sectors like defense and cybersecurity might see gains in anticipation of increased government spending. 5. Long-term geopolitical implications. A hardline approach towards China could push Beijing to reinforce its alliances and partnerships with other nations, potentially leading to a bifurcated global order. As countries choose sides, we could see new economic blocs forming which may isolate the U.S. economically and politically in the long run. 6. Domestic political reactions. Bass's appointment may polarize U.S. politics further. His views could galvanize opposition from Democrats and moderate Republicans who favor a more diplomatic approach to foreign policy. This could lead to increased scrutiny and debate regarding U.S. foreign policy direction, impacting future elections and policymaking. 7. Focus on innovation and technology. In response to perceived threats from China, there may be a renewed emphasis on domestic innovation and technology development. Expect increased funding for research and development in critical areas such as artificial intelligence, semiconductor manufacturing, and cybersecurity to reduce reliance on foreign technology. 8. Public sentiment and activism. As U.S.-China tensions rise, public sentiment may shift, leading to a greater emphasis on nationalism and economic independence. Activism related to supply chain transparency and ethical sourcing could gain momentum, influencing corporate strategies and consumer behavior. Conclusion. The potential appointment of Kyle Bass to a prominent role in the Trump administration underscores a pivotal moment for U.S. economic and foreign policy, particularly concerning China. With a shift towards a more aggressive stance, we can anticipate significant changes in trade, defense, and domestic economic strategies. The long-term implications of such a shift could redefine global alliances and economic landscapes, challenging the status quo established in recent decades. As these developments unfold, the world will be watching closely to gauge the reactions and adaptations of both nations and their allies.